الحمد لله الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعد وبعد. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, we have reached Surah إذا الشمس كورت, the 81st Surah today. We completed the 80th Surah, عبس وتولى, Surah Abasa. Last week we reached that area. So today in Al-Masir Fi Ilm it-Tafsir, we are going through إذا الشمس كورت, Surah At-Takwir. Now, Imam Ibn Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, he starts off by saying, quote, Surah At-Takwir. This is a Meccan surah in totality, by consensus. Allah the Exalted, He says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم كدرت وإذا الجبال صيرت وإذا العشار عطلت وإذا الوحوش حشرت وإذا البحار سجرت وإذا النفوس زوجت وإذا الموءودة سئلت بأي ذنب قتلت وإذا الصحف نشرت وإذا السماء كشطت وإذا الجحيم أزلفت علمت نفس ما أحضرت فلا أقسم بالخنس الجواد الكنس والليل إذا عسعس والصبح إذا تنفس إنه لقول رسول كريم ذي قوة عند ذي العرش مكين مطاع ثم أمين وما صاحبكم بمجنون ولقد رآه وما هو على الغيب بضنين وما هو بقول شيطان رجيم فأين تذهبون إن هو إلا ذكر للعالمين لمن شاء منكم أن يستقيم وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله رب العالمين. When the sun is folded up, when the stars lose their luster and are scattered, when the mountains are moved from their places, when the camels are left unattended, when the wild animals are gathered together, when the oceans boil over, when the souls are brought together, when the child that is buried shall be asked, for which sin was she killed? When the pages are spread out, when the sky is cast in lumps and split, when the great fire is blazed up, when the paradise is brought close, every soul shall know what it has brought forward for itself. I swear by the turning, I swear by the stars and the planets that turn, by the night when it darkens, by the day when it expands. Indeed, He is giving the word of a noble messenger, a possessor of power, who has a great place in the sight of the throne of the possessor of the great throne. He obeys commands and is also endowed with trustworthiness. No, your companion is not demon-possessed or insane. Indeed, he saw him on the utmost horizon clearly. He is not deprived of knowledge of the unseen. This is not the statement of a demon that is accursed. So where are you going? It is only the remembrance to all the creation. For whoever wills from among you, that he might be upright. But you do not will unless He, Allah, so wills, the Lord of all creation. Surah At-Takwir, the 81st Surah, Ayat 1 to 29. Now there is a hadith collected by Abu Abdullah Al-Hakim in his Sahih, narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever would so love to look at the day of resurrection, let him recite Surah إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ. Now this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, whoever would love to look at the day of resurrection, let him recite إِذَا الشَّمْسُ كُوِّرَتْ. This surah is a hadith that has come from the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. As for the expression kuwirat, folded up, this refers to the sun becoming darkened, as mentioned by Al-Walibi from Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, as well as Al-Farra, and also Qatada and Muqatil. It also refers to something going away. So when the sun is taken away, when it goes away, when it is deprived of light. This was also mentioned by Atiyah from Ibn Abbas as well as Mujahid. Thirdly, it also refers to the sun losing its light for whatever reason, as said by Ibn Abbas, Sa'id ibn Jubayr, Ibn al-Ambari. Now, the expression kuwirat is said by some kawwara to come from Farsi, in which the original word was kur bekard. When I recited this surah to our Sheikh Abu Mansur, the grammarian, he said, this word is Farsi, which is kuru bawr. Now, as far as the significance of the word, kuwirat is coming from the same root that now that it's an Arabic word, which is tukawwaru, which is the same word used for the tying of the amama. So it's when something is wrapped around, covered over. So this, according to Abu Ubaid and Az-Zajjaj, means that its light is covered over or wrapped over for some reason. The scholars of commentary say this means that the sun will somehow be gathered one part to another, then folded until it becomes significantly smaller, at which point it shall be hurled into the great fire. It has also been said that the sun will be thrown into a primordial sea, and another has said that the sun will break down into the smaller parts that it was originally created from. وَإِذَا النُّجُومُ كَدَرَتْ, when the stars lose their luster and are scattered. So it means that they will be scattered and moving all over the place. And when the mountains are moved from their places, meaning that they'll be moved to where they will be destroyed, and the earth will be left flattened and barren. And when the camels are left abandoned. So the camels being left abandoned, the word ishar are the female camels that carry their riders. Their pregnancies are often 10 months, so they're called ishar. And so because of this, the camels being referred to are the female camels that shall be left. They shall be abandoned. Remember that to the Arabs, the most precious thing to them as a means of transportation is the camel. And there's no way that female camels could be left unattended unless the person that's left them unattended is distracted by something far greater than that. This language being used is to show that although most of their wealth and their time is spent in tending camels and other such things, a time will come in which they will be so busy that they will be distracted from that. And this is because they will be distracted and busied with the events of the day of resurrection. وَإِذَا الْوُحُوشُ حُشِرَتْ, and when the wild animals are gathered together. This refers to also the beasts of the sea. And hushirat here is referring to two things. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says, firstly, it means when these wild beasts die off in great numbers. But secondly, when they are gathered together to witness the day of resurrection, as said by As-Sudai. Now, we've already treated this topic in detail in Surah An'am, the 6th Surah, Ayah 111. As for the Ayah, وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ سُجِّرَتْ, and when the oceans are overflowing, Ibn Kathir and Abu Amr recited as Sujirat, whereas the rest recited Sujirat. Now, there are three things that this refers to. When the oceans boil over with fire, as said by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. Al-Hasan al-Basri has said this boiling over shall be so severe that they will dry out after giving up their contents. Ibn al-Sa'ib, al-Farra, and Ibn Qutayba say that the oceans at one point, as they heat up, will come together forming one large ocean. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ, and when the souls shall be gathered together, brought together and paired up. This has to do with being paired up according to their kinds, as said by Umar radiallahu anhu. Their kinds means the righteous one will be with the righteous one in the paradise. The rebellious sinner will be with the rebellious sinner in the fire. This was mentioned by Al-Hasan al-Basri and Qatada. وَإِذَا النُّفُوسُ زُوِّجَتْ also means unified or joined. When the souls are joined, this refers to the fact that the souls will be reunited with their bodies. This was mentioned by Ash-Sha'bi and Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. And then finally, it discusses the joining of the believers with the maidens of the paradise, and the unbelievers being joined with the demons, because that is their type, as said by Ata and Muqatil. And when the female buried shall be asked. The female buried being referred to is when the children were buried alive. And this is from the actions of the age of ignorance. It means just this. So when it means the child buried alive, the female buried alive shall be asked, it means that she, the female buried alive, will ask her murderer on the day of resurrection, why was I killed? Because the expression, for what reason was I killed? For what sin? What sin did I commit? They shall be questioned. And they shall question, just as Allah has said, أَأَنْتَ قُلْتَ لِلنَّاسِ اتَّخِذُونِي وَأُمِّيَ إِلَهَيْنِ. Is it you said to people, Isa, take myself and my mother as two gods besides Allah? Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th Surah, Ayah 116. This therefore shows that people shall be questioned, and they shall question. They shall question those who have wronged them. This ayah, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ, Ali ibn Abi Talib, ibn Mas'ud, ibn Abbas, Abu Abdur-Rahman, ibn Ya'mar, ibn Abi Abla, Harun from Abu Amr recited as Sa'alat. However, the ayah بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, in their recitation, بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلْتُ, Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh says further, the woman in Jahiliyyah, when she fell pregnant, she would wait for her birth. And as a fail-safe precaution, would dig a hole When the time came, if she thought it was going to be a female, she would sit and deliver the child near the hole. If it was a female, she would deliver the child straight into this hole or have it taken away and thrown in. If it was a male, she would grasp hold of the child and take it back. The ayah, وَإِذَا الصُّحُفُ نُشِرَتْ, and when the pages are spread out. Nafi', Asim, Abu Ja'far, Ibn Amr, Yaqub recite Nushirat, while the rest say Nushirat. Now the pages here refer to the pages of deeds of the children of Adam that shall be spread out for the accounting. وَإِذَا السَّمَاءُ انْكُشِطَتْ, and when the sky is rent. Al-Farra mentions that when it is torn, when it is opened up. Now in the recitation of Abdullah, instead of a kaf, it's qaf, qushitat, as said by Qais, Tamim, Asad. However, the Quraysh recite this with a kaf, and that's why it has been left as it is. But the meaning of this qushitat and kushitat is the same, it is one. Which means it shall be rent. It is as if the roof is being ripped off of a home. And when the great fire was referred to, su'irat, which in some recitations is su'irat, meaning that it shall blaze up. When the Jahim's flames blaze up, or are kindled to blaze up. Time after time. And when the paradise is brought close to who? The righteous, the pious. And every soul shall know what is put forward at that time, what it is done. It is related by Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu that he said, every soul shall know what is put forward. And this is based upon the hadith that has covered the topic before about the souls and their destination. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu tells us something interesting. He says, from the first ayah all the way up until this ayah, ayah 14, there are 12 descriptions given of things, of events. 6 events in this earthly life and 6 in the hereafter. Ibn Abbas says no further after this, but when Allah the Exalted, he says, and I swear by the khunnas. It is said the khunnas are the stars that appear in the daytime but can't be seen but are still present. And they are 5 in number. This was mentioned by Ali ibn Abi Talib, Muqatil, and Ibn Qutaybah. Also, it's just said that it refers to the stars as said by Al-Hasan al-Basri and Qatada ibn Da'ima. Some have said that it's also a reference, a secondary reference after stars is the wild cows, as said by Ibn Mas'ud. And a tertiary meaning, as said by Ibn Abbas, is the wild deer. This was also said by Sa'id ibn Jubayr. However, the dominant opinion of the vast majority is that this is referring to the stars. Ibn Qutaybah says for this reason, they're named khunnas because the stars travel in constellations and belong to specific bodies. And the sun and the moon travel in constellations. So we call this process khunnas. And every so many years, the sun moves through the constellations, all the houses. And every so many years, the moon moves through all the houses. And this is well known in astronomy. And by the night, as it spreads, spreading as said by Ibn Abbas, Ibn Zayd al-Farra, Sa'id ibn Jubayr says, when it comes all of a sudden. Qatada says the same thing. As al-layl means when the night shows up, when it comes. And by the day when it expands. And this means the coming of the second Fajr, when the Salah becomes due. Said by Qatada, all the way up until the sunrise is said by Ad-Dahak. This is the Subh, because it is the other word for the prayer of Al-Fajr. Indeed, it is the word of a noble messenger, meaning the Quran was brought down by the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, who's referred to here as a noble messenger. And he refers to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as such. This is mentioned in Surah Al-Haqqa, the 69th Surah, Ayah 40. Then he, Allah, describes the angel Jibreel alayhi salam when he says that he is a possessor of power, the quwwatin, possessor of power. And then he also says, dhu mirra, which also means stern against the enemies of Allah and retribution. We've discussed this in Surah Al-Najm, the 53rd Surah, Ayah 6. The possessor of power in the presence of the possessor of the throne. He is obedient and moves through the seven skies, and the angels obey him. And he is trustworthy. So the angels show obedience to the angel Jibreel alayhi salam. And it shows that the angels all show respect to the angel Jibreel, because remember, the trustee of the paradise on the night of the ascension, when it came forward, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave his name, and the angel said, and is there someone with you? And he said it was the angel Jibreel alayhi salam. And in one narration it was the angel Jibreel alayhi salam, and he said, and who is with you? He said it is Muhammad. And on this basis it was opened. He also ordered the trustee of the great fire to open its door so that he sallallahu alaihi wasallam could look at it. So it shows the authority that the angel Jibreel alayhi salam has over all other angels. As far as being Ameen, trustworthy, meaning trustworthy for the revelation of Allah and His messengers, because He is the deliverer and bringer of them. He's also trustee because he enters through the 70,000 veils of light to take the revelation from Allah the Exalted and bring it to the creation, and he does not require permission. And when Allah says, and your companion is not demon possessed or insane, Your companion is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he is speaking to the people of Mecca. This is why he has said, your companion. And furthermore, he, Allah the Exalted, is continuing his oath by swearing by the planets, the stars. And here he even swears by the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that the Quran was sent down and brought by the angel Jibreel alayhi salam. He Allah swears that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not demon possessed or insane, just as the people of Mecca say. He saw him clearly on the horizon. The scholars of commentary say this means that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's the subject of these last ayat, saw the angel Jibreel alayhi salam in his natural angelic form on the horizon. We have discussed this already in Surah Al-Najm, the 53rd Surah, ayah 7. And he is not, meaning the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is not deprived of the knowledge of the unseen, but rather he has been given this knowledge. So he informs what he's been given from Allah. He doesn't hold back any of the knowledge of the unseen that he has been given. He doesn't conceal any of that which has been concealed, just as soothsayers conceal some of their knowledge in order to take a wage for that which they have. He does no such thing. It, meaning the Quran, is not the word of an accursed demon. Muqatil says this is because the idol worshippers and unbelievers of Mecca had said that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam only had a demon that would put his words on his tongue. Then when the Exalted One says, so where will you go, or where are you going? As the Judge said, this means, which path will you take? Will you take the path of righteousness or the path of wickedness? Indeed, it is only a remembrance to the whole creation. So whoever wills from among you that he might be guided aright on the truth and Iman, meaning that the Quran only gives admonition to the one who is seeking the path of truth. And the path of truth has been made clear. So whoever so wants to can take a hold of that path. Then he informs them. He, Allah, informs the people that his will to have the success to get to the path depends entirely upon him. This has been mentioned in Surah Al-Insan, ayah 30. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said, when the ayah was sent down, for whoever willed from among you that he might be guided aright, they said, well, the matter is for us. So if we so decide, we could have been guided aright. And if we had so decided, we wouldn't be guided aright. But Allah sent down the ayah, exalted be He. And you do not will unless He, Allah, wills, the Lord of all creation. And so the doubter Abu Jahl was silenced. It has also been said this can be recited as instead of وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ وَمَا يَشَاءُونَ. Now, one of the narrators of commentary has said that the expression, for whoever wills from among you, let him be guided aright, and the expression, so whoever wills, let him remember, Surah Abbas, ayah 12, and the expression in Surah Al-Insan, ayah 29, and Surah Al-Muzammil, ayah 18. So whoever wills, let him take the path to his Lord. One of the narrators of Tafsir has said that all of this has been abrogated by Allah's statement. And you do not will except that unless He, Allah, wills. I do not see this statement as accurate at all. Because if it was possible that some will could come about from them without His will, then this would lead to abrogations without his permission. But no, their will and their actions do not happen except after he has willed them. So there's no way and no desire to put forward any such position as this. Close quote. Now what this refers to is the narrator he is referring to, most likely, is the narrator belonging to the same layer that would teach Az-Zamakhshari, which are Mu'tazila. Because there are a body of Mu'tazila who believe that, because the first position of the Mu'tazila is that all things are willed by Allah to the point to where human beings have no choice in any regard. The second position is that human beings will, and then Allah's will agrees with their will if they do righteousness. But Imam Al-Jawzi rahimahullah, his refutation of this statement is when he says this cannot be the case because their will happening without his will would mean that there's something that he does not know. And we have all the other ayat to show that Allah is in charge of everything. He knows all things. And that it couldn't be abrogated because of what reason? Because Allah the Exalted does not abrogate names, attributes, or his plans. So what he's revealed, his names, his attributes, his plans, he doesn't do this. Now this brings us to an important point. When it comes to the creed of the Muslims, particularly the creed of Muslim Orthodoxy, there is no abrogation and there is no ijtihad in creed. There was no abrogation and there was no ijtihad in creed. What this means is there doesn't come a new day and age where we say, well, this used to be one of the names of Allah, but now that's been abrogated. And we say that this is one of Allah's names now. Right? One of the scholars of the past, he was soundly refuted, said that one of Allah's names in the past was Al-Abba, father, and that was abrogated. No. There was no abrogation and there was no ijtihad in creed. Because abrogation and ijtihad in creed necessarily mean that there is an area within the creed that is probabilistic or gray. But the creed, the foundational creed, is sound. There aren't gray areas. What we don't know, we say we don't know. A lot of the systems that have come about in creed, where people say the day of resurrection, everything's going to go in this order. The events of the hereafter are all going to go in this order, have come through the latter day scholars, which means post first three generations. Which is what? Ijtihad. Which we've just discussed that is impermissible to do. But these systems, they, in their wisdom, they wanted to make things easier and more organized. So there was a system of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or where there were areas that weren't discussed, they sometimes tried to infer or discuss them. Like, for example, saying that there was a tree in the paradise that has the name of every one person that's going to get married. And when they get married, they fall off the tree together. This has come from people who did ijtihad and spoke about abrogation and things in the creed. No. There's ijtihad in fiqh because new incidents occur that require new discussions to be had on topics. That's why there's ijtihad in fiqh. But even with saying that, we're using a foundation that's based in antiquity to then produce a logarithm or a program that will then give us the answer. The creed does not change. The foundational theology does not change. Allah being one does not change. All the prophets and that there are no further prophets does not change. So when someone comes and says, well, you know, nowadays they are headed towards abrogation regarding the creed. And that includes things such as homosexuality is an abomination. That the world is divided into two categories, Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Kufr. This is a consensus this is a theological position from Imam Ahmed, in which the places that are ruled over by the revealed law are classified as Dar al-Islam. And the places that are ruled over by fabricated laws or laws that aren't the revealed law are Dar al-Kufr. That's what that is. There's no change or theology in this matter. When Imam Ahmed was asked about this issue, he said, La qiyasa fi sunnah. He said, there's no analogy and there's no ijtihad in the creed or in the sunnah. The things that are foundationally agreed upon, that are sat down, there's no qiyas or ijtihad, there's no I think, I feel, no. It's sat down, this is what it is. Because these discussions that are had, they come about because people are arguing about things. And most of it has to do with the fact that there's no answer on things. Because we haven't been, not because there isn't one, because we haven't been given an answer. So in the age after the first three generations, the fourth age and the fifth age, all these discussions came up because people coming into Islam started asking questions and saying, well, what about this and what about that and what about this? And because there was nothing spelled out, some people tried to use the principle what's known as Ilm al-Kalam, speculative theology, which led to them doing what? Making ijtihad and creed inadvertently. And this is why so many theologians are so stern against speculative theology and speaking on these matters, because inadvertently you say you say what you don't know. You say upon Allah, or you say of Allah what you don't know. And this is what the Imam is punching forward to say, listen, we don't say more than that. There's no ijtihad in the theology. There's no where Allah says, well, my will and my decree is absolute. Well, actually, that's abrogated. Or the will of the creation is absolute, but I've abrogated that by this ayah. No. The theology is complete. There's no changes in it. Right? The only changes that you'll find in terms of abrogation are changes in some of the laws. Like, for example, the sajda was abrogated because of what had happened regarding it. These are laws to do with man from man. But the covenant, the relationship of the law to his creation, salvation, the basis of salvation, foundational theology, that does not change. That does not change. There's no ijtihad. There's no abrogation in that. Now, the Imam, he says, quote, we then come to Surah Al-Infitar. This is a Meccan surah by consensus in totality. Allah the Exalted has said, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إِذَا السَّمَاءُ فَطَرَتْ وَإِذَا الْكَوَاكِبُ انتَثَرَتْ وَإِذَا الْبِحَارُ فُجِّرَتْ وَإِذَا الْقُبُورُ بُعْثِرَتْ عَلِمَتْ نَفْسٌ مَا قَدَّمَتْ وَأَخَّرَتْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْإِنسَانُ مَا غَرَّكَ بِرَبِّكَ الْكَرِيمِ الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك كلا بل تكذبون بالدين وإن عليكم لحافظين كراما كاتبين يعلمون ما تفعلون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم وإن الفجار لفي جحيم يصلونها يوم الدين وما هم عنها بغائبين وما أدراك ما يوم الدين ثم ما أدراك ما يوم الدين يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا والأمر يومئذ لله. When the sky is split, when the stars and our planets are scattered, when the oceans are overflowing, when the graves are overturned, every soul shall know what it is put forward and put back. O human being, what has deceived you regarding your noble Lord, the one who created you, gave you form, and then set you out in the measured way, in whatever form that he so willed for you to go about it? By no means. Indeed, you are denying of the religion. While there are preservers over you, the noble scribes, they know what you do not know. They know what you do when you do it. Indeed, the righteous are in felicity, while the rebellious sinners are in the great fire. It shall scorch them on the day of judgment. They shall not be absent from it for a moment. What shall cause you to know what is the day of judgment? Again, what shall cause you to know what is the day of judgment? A day in which no soul shall have control over another soul in any regard. The matter on that day is solely belonging to Allah. Surah Al-Infitar, the 82nd surah, ayat 1 to 19. So the Exalted One has said, when the sky splits, this infitar, this splitting, is to crack, to split, and being scattered, the stars and planets falling. And when the oceans are overflowing, means one being opened over the other to the point to where they intermingle and they become like one ocean. So all the water shall be gathered in one area. And after this, Al-Hasan al-Basri says, they shall boil over and they shall run dry. When the graves are overturned, as said by Ibn Qutaybah. So overturned means that the bottom becomes the top and the top becomes the bottom. Every soul shall know what it is put forward and put behind it. Now, we've already explained some of this in the ayah. يُنَبَّأُ الْإِنسَانُ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِمَا قَدَّمَ وَأَخَّرَ. The human being will be informed on that day of what he put forward and what he put behind. Surah Al-Qiyamah, the 75th surah, ayah 13. O human being. Now, this ayah in specifics is addressing Abul Ashdain. He was an unbeliever, said by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anh and Muqatil. The name of Abul Ashdain has been given in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, the 74th surah, ayah 30. However, it's also been said that this ayah is applicable to Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira. It was mentioned by Ata ibn Abi Rabah. Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl has said it refers to Ubay ibn Khalaf. But it is applicable to any unbeliever. Although it was specifically mentioned regarding these, it is applicable to any unbelievers mentioned by Al-Mawardi. What has deceived you? Meaning, what's led you astray from carrying out what is compulsory for you? What is that which has taken you away from the right path and has brought his Allah's wrath upon you, while he is noble and generous and passes over the sins and doesn't punish you immediately? It was said to Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad once, if Allah the Exalted established for you the day of resurrection, what would this be like? He said, what has deceived you regarding your noble Lord? What would you say at that point? Al-Fudayl ibn Iyad said, I would say, I was deceived just like others before me by the time that I was given, and I lost track of time. Yahya ibn Mu'adh said, if he said to me, what deceived you about me? I would say, your righteousness, both the beginning and the end of it, because I was led astray by that, and I fell into harm on account of it. It was said regarding this incident, all of the attributes of Allah the Exalted are perfect. And so when someone is saying the nobility of your Lord, how was someone led astray? Meaning that Allah's majesty and his mercy and his generosity, one felt after experiencing this that they were somehow safe, and they forgot about the rest of Allah's affairs. Allah says further, the one who created you when you were not, gave you form, made you a human being so that you could hear and see, and gave you further form, whether you were tall or short, righteous or wicked, in the best form possible for you. So this could be in the form of a father, the form of an uncle, the form of a nephew, whatever structure you were to be in, he gave you the best form. So he also gave you the first best form. Fi suratim, the best form means he gave you proportion according to your requirements. So that one hand was in line with one hand, one leg was in line with one leg. And further to this, just as he made you a living human being. So he gave you the best form. As said by Mujahid, whether now the best form for someone is whatever they are to carry out as for their obligations from Allah and what they are created to do. The best form of someone is regardless of whether they are beautiful or ugly, whether they are tall or they are short, male or female. And this is the discussion that has been given by Al-Farra. Close quote. So this is what you need to understand. Best form doesn't mean, when we think best form, we think beautiful in proportion. That's not the case. Best form means best form for that thing. So when you look at the pig and how it roots in its own wastes and everything else, that's its best form. Because it eats offal, it eats the garbage, it lives its life the way that it does, and it is perfect for eating offal. Just like the pig, you have the pig, the raccoon, the possum, all of these animals, the bottom feeders in the ocean, like the crab, the lobster, the shrimp, these are all bottom feeders. And their job is to clean up in the offal and droppings that are left on the earth. And they are excellent at that. That's their best form. That's their best form. And someone who may have been born deformed or abnormally short, that's his best form. to complete whatever job that Allah has for him. Someone abnormally tall who suffers from extreme back pains and everything else on account of their height and everything else, that person was made for their best form for whatever obligations they were going to carry out for Allah. The ruthlessness of the falcon, who can fly into another nest and kill all the chicks of its rival and grab the female and take that back to his nest and forcibly copulate with that female to make sure he's wiped out the generation of the other. There are hawks that do that. The hawk that's able to do that, that's its best form for whatever it's meant to complete. The bird that flies high in the air and can see in the water several feet down that there's a fish that's exactly at this location, this many degrees, and dives down and catches it 99% of the time. That's its best form. So the person that is ugly, and we're speaking objectively in the sense that they've been deformed or that they are just naturally repulsive looking, that person, that's the best form of that person. That's his best form because he's been created to achieve some job, whatever that may be. Anything from the sloth to the slug to the pupae, all these things that we consider hideously ugly in looking at them objectively, they all fulfill a purpose. Think about, how would you know if something was infected or diseased unless there were maggots in it? How would you know? You would have no idea that something was diseased or infected unless there were maggots crawling in it. To know that something was definitely dead and it was decomposing and breaking down, what do you think maggots do? It's their job to do these things. We wouldn't know that something has become infected unless the strong stench of pus and the greening of the finger and all this, we wouldn't know unless we saw those things. There's always a wider purpose for things. And even though something objectively may be ugly or hideous, it fulfills a wider purpose. There's some wisdom that it has. If you ever have the opportunity to look at a placenta objectively is hideous looking. It's objectively hideous. But when you look at what it fulfills, its properties, the vitamins within it, the nourishment that it gives to the child, you see that the way that it looks, how it looks, is perfect for what it does. Many animals are purposely hideous, and there are certain colors, and other animals don't eat them, and you wonder why. Because other animals know that when you see a bright color and an animal looks hideous, that is poisonous. So when other animals see hideous looking animals with a protruding snout or a protrussile tongue or an abnormally elongated tail, and it's a bright blue or a bright red, they know that's poisonous. I will not consume that. Animals see certain types of leaves. And there's a wisdom that you can take if you're out camping or you're living off the land. Look at what deers eat. Look at what the elk eat. Look at what rabbits eat. What they eat, you eat. What they don't eat, you shouldn't eat because it's probably poisonous. Because they've already learned those lessons so that you don't have to learn them. So you eat from and clean yourself with poison oak or poison ivy. And you wind up having an itching fit and having an infection for weeks on end. When we went camping and someone used poison oak leaves for istinja, I won't even describe to you what happened. But we learned by watching animals. Why is it that we went to the Sitka spruce and the elk and all these other trees? We looked at all these other trees and we saw that the leaves had bite marks taken out of them, but there were no bite marks on the poison oak. There's a wisdom in that for us. There's an objective wisdom in there. So That's the point that the Imam is giving, because when someone initially hears that, it's like, wait a minute. In best form, yes. Whether it's beautiful, ugly, tall, or short. Everything has its best form. Don't think that, oh, best form means it's pretty and it's perfectly shaped. That's not true. That's not true at all. There's people that I can show you that may be hideously deformed, but are abnormally intelligent. There are people that may be dramatically short or extremely exaggeratingly tall, but they fulfill Allah's purpose, whatever that may be. People missing an arm, people born like this, but they fulfill some type of purpose. There was a friend of ours, I'll mention this very quickly. He was born without legs, and he only had his arms to use for everything, his arms and his torso. And he was married, and he was a mechanic in our local neighborhood. And we'd see a car roll in under his garage door, and he'd hoist himself up with his hands on the bumper, lift the hood, get inside, and work on the car. And his mechanic's office was always jumping. It was busy because of the work that he did. And every now and then we'd gather together and say, you want to go down and remember, you want to go down and take an example of how we take for granted our legs? Yeah, let's go see Bob. And we go down to Bob's garage and look at what he was doing, and we'd look at our legs and say, SubhanAllah. That's part of the wisdom. Other people make do with less while you cry about more. You cry about your pain, oh, this is my leg, sometimes it does this, does. Fine, we'll lop it off. Then you won't have that problem at all. Then you'll never have that issue again. So when you see these signs of Allah in people, no legs, he's running a mechanic shop. His second is trying to keep up with him because Baba's moving faster than him. He's opening up the hood of the car. He's doing lubes. He's changing the oil. He's like, okay, listen, it should be ready by this weekend. And people are talking to him just like anyone else and doing all the work and everything else. And you're seeing they're just getting on with the business of it. He's just like any other man. He's nagged by his wife. He's overworked. He's always swamped and busy. He's just like anyone else. Except that in one area, he's not like anyone else. But there's a wisdom that you can learn from them. People that are blind, people that are deaf, people that are mute, people that are mentally retarded. There's some purpose, some wider lesson that Allah is giving, whatever that may be. But they've all been made in their best form. So the next time you see an animal that is objectively, subhanallah, that's ugly, think about what its purpose is. The aardvark is objectively grotesque. It's an absolutely grotesque, sniffing, dirty-nosed animal. But what does it do? What does it use its snout for? Think about what the aardvark does, what it accomplishes. And by it checking the animals and eating them, what does it protect us from? Because they do serve a purpose. The Imam, he goes on to say, quote, and when the Exalted One further says that he created you in the best form, meaning that he, if he so willed, he could take someone that was in a human form and transform their form. That's said by Muqatil. Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl says, for example, in the case of the people that were changed into apes and swines, as we discussed in surahs before. The best form also refers to the best form a human being can be in with regards to actions is righteous actions. But if he, Allah, so wills for someone in the form, someone can be in the form of a donkey, meaning by their actions, because of their stupidity and their vileness. Someone can be made to look like a dog by their actions, by being stingy and miserly. Someone can be made to look like a pig because of their eating after the habit of one, or because of their wickedness. That's said by Tha'labi. But you deny of the deen, of the religion. In this case, it's referring by denying of the religion, meaning by not taking on the true religion, you open yourself up to the accounting and the reckoning. And He, Allah, is informing them that their actions have been preserved. Indeed, you have preservers over you, meaning the angels, that preserve your deeds. Noble in the sight of their Lord, they are the noble scribes. They write down your deeds. They know what you do, meaning the good and the evil, and they write that down against you. The righteous are in felicity, meaning in the hereafter, when they enter the paradise. And the rebellious sinners, meaning the idol worshippers and the oppressors, as mentioned by Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik, when he said, there's a narration mentioned from Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik that he said to Abu Hazim, "Oh, what's wrong with us? What's my position in the sight of Allah?" And he said to him, "Let your deeds be the book of Allah, because you know what He has against you in His presence." Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik said, "So where would I find that?" He says, "Remember what Allah said. The righteous are in felicity, the rebellious sinners are in the great fire." Sulaiman ibn Abdul Malik said, "So then where's the mercy of Allah?" Abu Hazim said, "It is near to the righteous ones." Then He, Allah, says, those that will enter the fire, they will be scorched by it. Yaslawnaha, singed by its heat, on the day of judgment, the day of accounting for deeds. And they shall not be absent from the fire, meaning they shall not be absent. This is evidence that unbelievers are in the fire for all eternity, because He, Allah, says they shall not be absent from it for one instant. And the righteous shall not be absent from the paradise for one instant. One can infer from this. The greatness of the day is emphasized when He, Allah, says, what will tell you what is, what will cause you to know what is the day of judgment. Then He, Allah, repeats it to show the severity of it. Again, what shall cause you to know this? This is speaking to the human being that's an unbeliever, not to the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for he already knows the severity of it. A day in which no soul shall have any control over another. That is indeed the day. These things are all mentioned. So no soul shall be able to command another. Only Allah shall be able to do that. No one from the creation at all shall be able to control anyone that they may have controlled in the earthly life. Just as Muqatil used to say, no soul unbelieving shall have control over another soul and be able to take any benefit from it. Such a thing is not possible. Rather, the penalty is with Allah and the judgment rests with Allah. Muqatil also said that he hoped that he would not be denied the intercession of the believers, because the intercession of the believers comes from the command of Allah and His judgment. We then come to Surah Al-Mutaffifin, the 83rd surah. It has been discussed in detail that there are Meccan surahs, Meccan ayat in the surah, as said by Ibn Mas'ud, Al-Tahaq, and Yahya ibn Salam. There are Medinan surahs, as said by Ibn Abbas, Al-Hasan, Ikrimah, Qatada, and Muqatil. But it was revealed between Mecca and Al-Madinah. This surah was revealed during the Hijrah between Mecca and Al-Madinah. The Exalted One said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Waylun lil Mutaffifin. الذين إذا اكتالوا على الناس يستوفون وإذا كالوهم أو وزنوهم يخسرون ألا يظن أولئك أنهم مبعوثون ليوم عظيم يوم يقوم الناس لرب العالمين كلا إن كتاب الفجار لفي سجين وما أدراك ما سجين كتاب مرقوم ويل يومئذ للمكذبين الذين يكذبون بيوم الدين وما يكذب به إلا كل معتد أثيم إذا تتلى عليه آياتنا قال أساطير الأولين كلا بل ران على قلوبهم ما كانوا يكسبون كلا إنهم عن ربهم يومئذ لمحجوبون ثم إنهم لصالو الجحيم ثم يقال هذا الذي كنتم به تكذبون كلا إن كتاب الأبرار لفي عليين وما أدراك ما عليون كتاب مرقوم يشهده المقربون إن الأبرار لفي نعيم على الأرائك ينظرون تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم يسقون من رحيق مختوم ختامه مسك وفي ذلك فليتنافس المتنافسون ومزاجه من تسنيم عينا يشرب بها المقربون إن الذين أجرموا كانوا من الذين آمنوا يضحكون وإذا مروا بهم يتغامزون وإذا انقلبوا إلى أهلهم انقلبوا فكهين وإذا رأوهم قالوا إن هؤلاء لضالون وما أرسلوا عليهم حافظين فاليوم الذين آمنوا من الكفار يضحكون على الأرائك ينظرون هل ثوب الكفار ما كانوا يفعلون. Woe be to those who are cheaters, those who when they weigh against the people seek to defer from them, and when they give measure or grain or weight, they take away the measure and lower it or increase it as per their desire. Do these not think that they shall be resurrected on a great day to stand in front of the Lord of all creation? where all men shall stand? By no means, indeed. The book of the rebellious sinners is in the Sijjin. And what shall cause you to know what is the Sijjin? It is a clearly determined record. Woe be to the deniers on that day, those who deny the day of resurrection. And no one denies it except a rebellious, reprobate sinner. And when our signs are recited to them, he says, these are tales of the ancient. By no means. But instead, a film has formed on their hearts on account of that which they earned. By no means they shall be veiled from their Lord. Then they shall be roasted and burned alive in the fire. Then it will be said to these ones, this is that which you used to deny. By no means, indeed, the righteous shall be in the illiyin. And what shall cause you to know what is that? It is a recorded register. It will be witnessed by those near. The righteous are in felicity, reclining on thrones looking. You recognize them by the nobility and the brightness and radiance of their faces. They shall take a drink from a sealed goblet, in which its top has the smell of musk. And so in that, let those who want to compete for righteousness and take heed of this and take taste of it. It shall have a hint of tasneem, a spring in which those near to him, Allah, shall drink from it. Those who committed criminality, those who had laughed at those who believe. When they passed them by, they used to wink and nudge one another. And when they went back to their people, they would report to them what they saw. And when they saw them, they would say, yes, these are astray. And there's no one to preserve them. Today, those who believe shall be laughing at those who rejected faith. They shall be reclining on thrones looking. Shall the unbelievers not be rewarded for that which they did? Surah Al-Mutaffifin, the 83rd surah, ayat 1 to 36. When the Exalted One says, woe be to the cheaters and those who are cheating. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu said, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached Medina, he found some of the worst people when it came to measuring and weighing. And Allah sent down, woe be to those who are cheaters. And so the people started to excel in their measurements and their measuring of dry foodstuffs and weighing after that. As Sudayya said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to Al-Madinah and found a man, Abu Juhayna, and he had 2 sa'. He had 2 double handfuls and then another 2 double handfuls. But he was weighing them with the other and holding one back. And Allah sent down this ayah regarding fair dealings in trade. We have mentioned the meaning of the word wayl, woe, in Surah Al-Baqarah, the 2nd surah, 79, is mentioned by Ibn Qutaybah. The cheater, though, the mutaffif, is the one who does not weigh according to its true weight. Rather, he either holds it back or he increases it without right. Those who, when they weigh among the people, meaning among the people that are trading with them, that are transacting with them, that they cheat them by cheating them in weighing and measuring. Because weighing and measuring are means that people use for buying and selling. And so they cheat by decreasing what's on the weight or scales or measure, or they sell them something that may be heavier when wet than dry, but give them the dry product. This is not permitted to do this. And we have been warned against this. Do they not think that they shall be resurrected? Meaning, haven't they thought they will be resurrected? And they'll have to give account regarding what they did, regarding weights and measures, on a great day, the day of resurrection, in which mankind shall stand in front of their Lord? Scholars of commentary say the thought here is meaning, don't they have certainty? Don't they truly believe that when they come out of their graves, they'll stand in front of the Lord of all creation and have to give an accounting for this and a reckoning for this and stand in front of him? There is a hadith from Ibn Umar, from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who mentioned about this ayah, that one of them would stand up on that day with his measuring equipment and such held up near his ears as the sign, and that the sweat on that day would be so great it would come up to the ears, and that the standing time for some of them for their accounting would be 300 years. Muqatil said this begins when they leave from their graves. By no means, he, Allah, is refuting them. By no means, indeed. The book of the rebellious sinners, the book of their deeds, is in the Sijjin. Now it's been said that this is the seventh earth that is located there, and it's waiting on the day of resurrection when it's brought out, as said by Mujahid, Qatada ibn Da'ima, Al-Dahhak ibn Zayd, and Muqatil. Is in the Sijjin, which is said by some to be a massive boulder under the seventh earth, which is the place where the record of the rebellious sinners is kept. And this is a sign of their wickedness. It is said this is the case. Now their book, the Sijjin, is like a prison, because that is their ultimate end, which is prison, an eternal prison. And what will cause you to know what is the Sijjin? So whenever a matter is severe, Allah repeats that matter so that you might digest it. It is a book which is in the Sijjin, a recorded book written down, where all things have been mentioned therein of him. Woe be on that day to the deniers, meaning the day in which humanity shall stand in the presence of the Lord of all creation. But there is a film on their hearts, a seal. Now, this ayah is recited according to Hafs from Asim as Kalla bal rana ala qulubihim. However, according to Ibn Kathir, Abu Amr, Ibn Amir, and Abu Bakr from Asim, is recited as Kalla bal rana. And one recites it, Abu Bakr from Asim, Kalla bal rana. All of these are valid. Now, it has also been mentioned that the Ran is a film on the heart that comes about because of sins, and that it covers over the whole heart when the heart is enveloped and covered in sin. Our Sheikh Abu Mansur, the grammarian, said the Ran or the Ghain, these things are mentioned in the Quran, and it goes over the heart on account of people's sins. Their hearts are filled with sin, and this film goes over it. And they do not bear witness to that day, the unbelievers. Then Allah says, they shall be veiled from their Lord. Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu says that they will be veiled from looking at their Lord on that day. The believer shall not be veiled from seeing his Lord. Imam Malik ibn Anas radiallahu anhu says, when his enemies are veiled from seeing him, they do not see him. But his friends and those who love him shall indeed see him. Imam al-Shafi'i radiallahu anhu said, if one people are veiled from Allah because of his wrath towards them, this is proof that another people shall see him because he is pleased with them. As the Judge said, this ayah is a proof that Allah shall be seen in the hereafter. Because if this was not the case, what would be the point in Allah mentioning this in the ayah? He, Allah, has disgraced the unbelievers because they are veiled from seeing their Lord. And after their seeing him, they shall enter into the fire, because Allah says right after this, ثُمَّ إِنَّهُمْ لَصَالُو الْجَحِيمِ. They shall be scorched in the fire and burned alive. Then it will be said to them, those speaking to them shall be the custodians of the great fire. This is the punishment which you used to deny. You didn't believe in it when you were in the earthly life. Then Allah says, the book of the righteous is in the Illiyin. The Illiyin is another name for the paradise, is said by Ibn Abbas. It is also said to refer to a green emerald tablet that is attached under the throne, which has all the righteous deeds of the righteous people mentioned, is said by Ibn Abbas. This is in the seventh sky. And also you will find the souls of the believers that died as martyrs, is said by Ka'ab, as well as Mujahid and Ibn Zayd. It is near the right leg of the Arsh of Allah. The right leg of the Arsh. For the Arsh has 4 legs. Is near the right leg of the Arsh, is said by Qatada. And Muqatil is said, it is near that place. And that is near to the uttermost boundary, is said by Al-Dahaq. And these deeds are brought up and sent down. They go up and down. Every time they go to Allah, these deeds, and they are recorded. Said by Al-Hasan al-Basri, it is the highest of places. What shall cause you to know what is the Illiyun? Because of its grandeur and the severity of it, Allah mentions it again. It is recorded, just as was said before. Those near to Allah shall witness it, meaning those near it of the angels that see that which is written down, the book which is in the Illiyin. We've mentioned some of this in Surah Al-Infitar, ayah 13, who those angels are and their identity. And He, Allah, mentions what they have been given. They shall be reclining, the righteous shall be in felicity on thrones looking at what Allah gave them of the nobility, and also looking at their enemies as they're being punished and disgraced. You shall see in their face the radiance and the goodness, because they are the people of felicity, and they shall have a great light. As for them drinking from Ar-Rahiq al-Makhtum, that musk, the vast majority said it will be something resembling a wine, but it will not be an intoxicant, but it will be the most noble, as said by Al-Khalil ibn Ahmed. It will be pure from any intoxicating effects, as said by Al-Akhfash. It will be almost white in color, as said by Muqatil, according to the texts. And Ibn Qutaybah said the same, that it is also a spring in the paradise that has a hint of musk. It's also said by Al-Hasan al-Basri that the drink which causes no intoxication or harm therein, it is makhtoom. It is sealed with a beautiful scent, as said by Ibn Mas'ud. It is sealed so that it's not an open utensil, as said by Mujahid, so that it doesn't go out. So that it has a noble scent. And that this noble scent is a musk. A musk, the beauty of which is undescribable. And in that, let people strive with one another in seeking this out. Seeking out this paradise and the musk and all the things in it by obedience to Allah. Because فَلْيَتَنَافَسُ الْمُتَنَافِسِينَ, this expression refers to فَلْيَتَنَافَسِ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ, let them strive and compete with one another in seeking it out. So here Allah is enticing the believers. Just as much as when He said to entice the believers, أَوْ إِطْعَامٌ فِي يَوْمٍ ذِي مَسْغَبَةٍ يَتِيمًا So he said about those who will be in the highest reaches of the paradise that they are some of those who feed the poor, those who are in need of it, feed the orphans. And those who were criminals, meaning idol worshippers, and they mocked and laughed at those who believed from the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like Ammar ibn Yasir, Bilal ibn Rabah, Khabbab ibn al-Arrat, and others. And they laughed at them by mocking them. And when they passed by the believers, when the unbelievers passed them by, they jeered and winked and nudged one another. And when the unbelievers went to their families, they went back, surprised by that which they saw and what they heard of them, and laughing. Part of this is mentioned in Surah Yasin, the 36th Surah, Ayah 55. And when they saw them, meaning when the unbelievers saw the companions of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they said, "These people are astray." But Allah says of them, the unbelievers, they had no preservers sent over them to preserve their deeds, for the goodness of their deeds. Today, meaning in the hereafter, those who believe shall laugh at those who rejected faith as they are being punished in the fire. So, Abu Salih has said, it will be said to the people of the fire who seek a way to get out, "Let us go out." And a door shall be open for them, and when they try to seek to get out, they shall be pushed back in and locked back in. And the believers shall be looking, reclining on their thrones, looking on at the punishment of their enemies. Al-Muqatil said, every man from the people of paradise shall be looking at the enemies of Allah, how they're being punished. And they will be praising Allah because of how He honored them and how He saved them. And the people of the fire shall be talking and suffering in great pain. And the fire shall engulf its people, and they shall be disgraced. Shall the unbelievers not be rewarded for that which they used to do? Meaning, shall they not be rewarded for their mocking the believers in this earthly life? Shall this not be the case? The Exalted One, he then brings us to Surah Al-Inshiqaq. This is a Meccan surah. In totality, by consensus, and he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. إذا السماء انشقت وأذنت لربها وحقت وإذا الأرض مدت وألقت ما فيها وتخلت وأذنت لربها وحقت يا أيها الإنسان إنك كادح إلى ربك كدحا فملاقيه فأما من أوتي كتابه بيمينه فسوف يحاسب حسابا يسيرا وينقلب إلى أهله مسرورا وأما من أوتي كتابه وراء ظهره فسوف يدعو ثبورا ويصلى سعيرا إنه كان في أهله مسرورا إنه ظن أن لن يحور بلى إن ربه كان به بصيرا فلا أقسم بالشفق والليل وما وسق والقمر إذا اتسق لتركبن طبقا عن طبق فما لهم لا يؤمنون وإذا قرئ عليهم القرآن لا يسجدون بل الذين كفروا يكذبون والله أعلم بما يوعون فبشرهم بعذاب أليم إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم أجر غير ممنون. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, when the sky is split apart and it seeks the permission of its Lord and goes forward, when the earth is stretched out and when it is left barren and empty and it seeks its way to its Lord, human being, indeed, you were most boastful in the sight of your Lord, and then look at what you've come to meet. As far as the one who's given the book in his right hand, he shall have an easy accounting. He shall return to his family and his people joyous. As for the one given the book behind his back, then he will call out for his own destruction. He shall ask for his own devastation and quickly. Indeed, he was joyous in his family. He thought that he would never be resurrected. Indeed, his Lord saw him the whole time. Indeed, I swear by the redness after the sunset, the night as it spreads itself, the moon when it becomes full. You shall certainly travel along, time by time. What's the matter with them? They don't believe. When the Qur'an is recited to them, they do not prostrate. But those who reject faith, they deny. And Allah knows best about that which they do. Give them the tidings of the severe punishment. With the exception of those who believe and do righteous deeds, they shall have a reward that has no limit. Surah Al-Inshiqaq, the 84th Surah, ayat 1 to 25. When the Exalted One is mentioned, the beginning of this surah, we have already discussed much of this. The scholars of commentary say that the splitting of the sky is one of these great signs of the hour. This has been mentioned in a number of places in the Quran. Surah Al-Furqan, the 25th Surah, Ayah 2. Surah Al-Rahman, the 55th Surah, Ayah 37. Surah Al-Haqqa, the 69th Surah, Ayah 16. And it shall certainly seek the permission of its Lord and go forward with it. It shall listen and go forward with it. So it obeys its Lord, the very Lord who created it. And when the earth is stretched out, as Ibn Abbas says, this refers to the stretching out of the earth to the point to where it is flattened so that no mountain or building remains on it. So it is barren. It is barren of people that have been extracted out of it and all the treasures that it bears. It is left barren, and nothing remains inside of its innermost. So all of these things mean that it is abandoned. It is left. Then He, Allah, says, O human being. O human being. So after all this has happened, He, Allah, is saying, O human being, you see the reward and the penalty when the sky has been split. When all these things have occurred, when you were boastful, and now this is the meeting of the day of resurrection, where his deeds shall be laid bare. You were in the sight of your Lord doing deeds, as said by Ibn Abbas, you were quick to do these deeds, moving around in the earthly life for the hereafter and such. Some of you were boastful, as said by Ibn Abbas, and you had to go to the meeting with your Lord, as mentioned by Ibn Qutaybah. and now you see the end reward. I said by Zajjaj, so whoever was given his book in his right hand shall have a light accounting to give. Meaning that he, Allah, shall forgive him for his whatever mistakes and misgivings. It is mentioned in the two collections of Al-Bukhari and Muslim from the hadith of Aisha, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever is questioned in his reckoning is destroyed. I said, Messenger of Allah, Allah the Exalted has said, whoever has a light reckoning. What about the one who has a light reckoning? He said, no, this is talking about the one who has a light reckoning. But the one who is questioned again and again, this one is certainly destroyed. He, Allah, then says, and he returns to his people, meaning his people in the paradise, of the human beings and the Hur al-Ain, of the maidens of the paradise, happy from the nobility that Allah is giving him. As far as the one given the book behind his back, scholars of commentary say, this means that his right hand, because there's an ayah where it mentions the right hand of the unbeliever being tied to his neck, and his left hand's behind his back, then he shall call for his own destruction, and he shall be roasted and destroyed and burned. Indeed, in the earthly life, he was happy, following his desires and chasing after his utmost wants. He thought he would never be brought back and have to return to the hereafter. He thought he would never be resurrected. And this is precisely the description of the unbeliever. He, Allah, has said, by no means his Lord saw him the whole time that he was doing this, in all of his states. I swear. So here Allah is swearing by the shafaq. The shafaq is of two types. There is two types of shafaq. The first is the redness, the shafaq that is red. This appears at the sunset time. So from the time the sun sets up until the time of Salat al-Isha, this is a shafaq al-ahmar, the red shafaq, from the time the sun sets up until the time of Salat al-Isha, when the redness disappears. As for ash-shafaq al-abyad, the white shafaq, this is from the setting of the sun up until the middle of the night. Now, the shafaq being discussed, the scholars of commentary say that this is talking about the redness which remains on the horizon after the sun has set. It is related from Ibn Umar, from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when he was asked, what is the shafaq? He said, the shafaq is the redness. And this is collected by Imam ad-Daraqutni. Close quote. Just from a side fiqh point, this is one of the arguments the scholars of the school of Imam Ahmad use when someone says, well, the shafaq could mean this or this. They say, no. Ibn Umar asked the Prophet ﷺ, what is the shafaq? And he said, it's the redness. So our understanding is it's the redness. If he directly told them it's the redness, it's the redness. And that's all there is to it. The Imam goes on to say, quote, this is the statement of Umar ibn al-Khattab, that the shafaq is the redness. The son of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Ibn Mas'ud, Ubadah, Abu Qatada, Jabir ibn Abdullah, Ibn Abbas, Abu Hurairah, Anas ibn Malik, Sa'id ibn Musayyib, Sa'id ibn Jubair, Tawus, Makhul, Malik ibn Anas, Al-Awza'i, and Abu Yusuf, as well as Imam al-Shafi'i, Abu Ubaid, Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Ishaq ibn Rahaway, Ibn Qutayba, and Az-Zajjaj. So the shafaq refers to the redness. And it was also said by Al-Farra, I heard some of the Bedouin Arabs saying one day while wearing a piece of clothing that had just been dyed, "Oh, it is as if it looks like it's got pure shafaq," meaning that it's red. That the primary meaning of shafaq is redness. However, it's also been said that shafaq refers to the daytime as it's going out and the sun itself, as said by Mujahid. So whatever remains of the day that's going out can be called shafaq, as said by Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. And some have said that the fifth position is that shafaq refers to the blackness of the night which comes after the whiteness has gone out. This was mentioned by Abu Ja'far Muhammad ibn Ali and Umar ibn Abdul Aziz radiyallahu anhuma. And by the night, when it gathers together and it extends itself, meaning when it covers over the things, the night goes over the mountains, the trees, the oceans, and it goes over the land. By the night and what it covers, by the moon when it begins to become full, when it gathers together. This could be the 13th, 14th, up until the 15th night. This is called it-Tafsir, when the moon begins to become full completely. You shall certainly travel on, limit by limit, point by point, age by age. This is speaking to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in which Allah is actually telling him, you shall travel level to level, meaning sky to sky, as said by Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, Al-Sha'bi and Mujahid. You shall travel from state to state, level to level, as said by Ibn Abbas. And he said, you, Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu said, you is referring to your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Further, it's indicating the skies, the different skies of the universe, of the different universes, that he shall go through them without a doubt. Now, you can also say this refers to other human beings because they shall go through different states in life. So they shall go through their difficulties. And here Allah says, tabaqan an tabaq, that level by level. This refers to the difficulties, trials. So you have difficulties, trials, death, resurrection, and accounting. These are different levels of every human being. As said by Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu, that there is ease after hardship, hardship after ease, plenty after penury, penury after plenty, health after sickness, sickness after health. All this was said by Al-Hasan al-Basri. These are the different states. And the human being is pleased, then troubled. He then becomes born, in which he is breastfeeding. Then he's weaned. Then he becomes a youth where he can feed himself. Then he becomes an adult. Then a full-grown man. Then old. And then the final is death, as said by Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. So the human being's stage changes. His state changes in the hereafter after being in this earthly life. This was mentioned by Sa'id ibn Jubayr, that he goes through different phases and different ages, just like the people before him did. So from every day is one state, and another day is another state. What is wrong with them, meaning the unbelievers of Mecca, that they do not believe? They don't believe in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran. But the question being asked is one of refutation. What's wrong with you? And when the Quran is recited to them, they do not prostrate, meaning they don't pray. As said by Ata bin Abi Rabah and Ibn As-Sa'ib, meaning they don't submit to him, Allah the Exalted. This was mentioned by Ibn Jarir, and also the chosen position of Al-Qadi Abu Ya'la, who said, And already some people have said regarding this area, because it is known as a sajda of tilawa, some people have used this ayah as an evidence that the sajda of tilawa is wajib. But there's no indication of that in this ayah. The meaning of this ayah, what's wrong with them? Why don't they believe? And when the Quran is recited to them, they don't prostrate, meaning they don't show humility towards Him, Allah. They don't submit. Don't you see that the sujood is being referred to the whole Quran? And that sujood takes place in a number of other places, but there's no time when anyone has said that the sajda of tilawa is wajib from the first generations. But those who reject faith deny the Quran, meaning they deny the Quran, the resurrection, the accounting. Allah knows best by what's in their hearts and what they do in their hearts and how they deny, as said by Ibn Qutaybah. But give them the glad tidings that what they have done is known. As the Judge has said, let the unbelievers know. Give them the glad tidings of what awaits the believers, of the paradise and the mercy, and the punishment that's coming for them. The believers shall have a reward that has no limit. We then come to Surah Al-Buruj, the 85th surah. This is a Meccan surah by consensus. The Exalted One, he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, was-samaa'i dhatil buruj, wal-yawmil maw'ud, wa shahidin wa mashhud. قتل أصحاب الأخدود النار ذات الوقود إذ هم عليها قعود وهم على ما يفعلون بالمؤمنين شهود وما نقموا منهم إلا أن يؤمنوا بالله العزيز الحميد الذي له ملك السماوات والأرض والله على كل شيء شهيد إن الذين فتنوا المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثم لم يتوبوا فلهم عذاب جهنم ولهم عذاب الحريق إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار ذلك الفوز الكبير إن بطش ربك لشديد إنه هو يبدئ ويعيد وهو الغفور الودود ذو العرش المجيد فعال لما يريد هل أتاك حديث الجنود فرعون وثمود بل الذين كفروا في تكذيب والله من ورائهم محيط بل هو قرآن مجيد في لوح محفوظ. In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Compassionate, by the sky, which possesses the constellations, by the promised day, by the witness and that which is witnessed. The people of the ditch were killed. In a fire they were made to endure, they were made to sit in it. And what they did to the believers was witnessed by witnesses. And they did nothing to deserve such a penalty except that they believed in Allah, the Mighty, the worthy of praise, the one who possesses the dominion of the skies and the earth, and Allah is witness over everything. Those who cause the believers, men and women, tribulation, then they do not repent, they shall have the punishment of the great fire, and it is a blazing torment. Those who believe and do righteous deeds, they shall have gardens under which rivers flow. That is the grand salvation. Indeed, the might of your Lord is severe. Indeed, he is the one who begins and he ends matters. He is the forgiving, the loving, the possessor of the majestic throne, the doer of that which he wills. And has the news not come to you of the armies, the Pharaoh, and Thamud? Indeed, those who reject faith are in denial, and Allah surrounds them all around. Indeed, it is a noble and majestic Quran in the preserved tablet. Surah Al-Buruj, the 85th Surah, Ayat 1 to 22. When the Exalted One refers to the sky possessing the constellations, we've mentioned this already in Surah Al-Hijr, the 15th Surah, Ayah 16. The promised day, this is the day of resurrection by consensus. The witness and the thing witnessed. This refers to Friday as the witness. The thing witnessed is the day of Arafah, as mentioned by the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Abu Hurairah, and also mentioned by Ali ibn Abi Talib, Ibn Abbas, and Ibn Zayd. This is one of the reasons why the Friday is referred to as the day of witnessing, because every action shall be witnessed therein. And the day of Arafah is called the Mashhud because the people bear witness there and complete the highest level of Hajj. And the angels also witness this. The witness is also the day of Jumu'ah and the day of sacrifice, as said by Ibn Umar. The witness is also Allah, and that which is witnessed is the day of resurrection, said by Ibn Abbas. The witness is the day of Arafah, and that which is witnessed is the day of resurrection, as said by Ibn Abbas. The witness is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That which is witnessed is the day of resurrection, as said by Yusuf ibn Mahran from Ibn Abbas, Al-Hasan ibn Ali radiallahu anhu as well. The witness is the day of resurrection, and that which is witnessed are the people, said by Jabir ibn Abdullah. The witness is Friday. That which is witnessed is the day of resurrection, as said by Al-Dahhak. The witness is the 8th of Dhul Hijjah. That which is witnessed is the day of Arafah, as said by Sa'id ibn al-Musayyib. The witness is Allah. That which is witnessed is the children of Adam, as said by Sa'id ibn Jubayr. The witness is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That which is witnessed is the day of Arafah, said by Al-Dahhak. The witness is Nabiyuna Adam alayhi salam. That which is witnessed is the day of judgment. This was mentioned by Mujahid. That which is the witness is the son of Adam. That which is witnessed is the day of resurrection. This is mentioned by Layth from Mujahid, and also mentioned by Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. The witness is Nabiyuna Adam alayhi salam and his descendants. That which is witnessed is the day of resurrection, as mentioned by Ata ibn Yassar. The witness is the human being. That which is witnessed is Allah the Exalted, as said by Muhammad ibn Ka'ab. The witness is the day of sacrifice, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah. That which is witnessed is the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Arafah, as said by Ibrahim ibn Adham, Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. The witness is Nabiyuna Isa alayhi salam. That which is witnessed is his ummah. This was mentioned by Abu Malik, just as Nabiyuna Isa alayhi salam was said to have mentioned, وَكُنْتُ عَلَيْهِمْ شَهِيدًا, and I was witness over them. Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th Surah, 117. The witness is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That which was witnessed was his ummah. This was mentioned by Abdul Aziz ibn Yahya, and the reason is وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا, And we brought you over these people as a witness. Surah An-Nisa, the 4th Surah, 41. The witness is this ummah. That which is witnessed is the rest of humanity. As said by Al-Husayn ibn al-Fadl. Because لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. This is so that you, this ummah, might be witnesses over humanity. Surah Al-Baqarah, the 2nd Surah, Ayah 143. The witness are the preserving angels. That which is witnessed are the sons of Adam, as mentioned by Muhammad ibn Ali at-Tirmidhi, and also Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. The witness is the truth. That which is witnessed is the creation. As said by Al-Junayd al-Baghdadi. The witness is the black stone. That which is witnessed is the one making Hajj. The witness are the prophets, alayhimus salatu wassalam, and that which is witnessed is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because remember when Allah said, وَإِذْ أَخَذَ اللَّهُ مِيثَاقَ النَّبِيِّينَ, and when Allah took the covenant of all the prophets. Surah Al-Imran, the 3rd Surah, Ayah 81. The witness is Allah and His angels and those of clear knowledge. And that which is bore witness to is La ilaha illallah. Remember where Allah said, Shahid Allahu annahu la ilaha illa huwa wal malaikatu wa ulul ilm. Allah bears witness there's no God but Him. And so do the angels and those with knowledge. Surah Al-Imran, the 3rd Surah, 18. All of these things have been mentioned by Ath-Thalabi. The witness is also the prophets. That which is witnessed are the nations they came to. This was mentioned from our Sheikh Ali ibn Ubaidullah. Now, when Allah says, indeed the might of your Lord is severe, this is the truth as discussed by Qatada and Az-Zajjaj. And the people of the ditch were killed. Allah mentions this. And He mentions this in an oath to show the truthfulness. I swear that the people in the ditch, they have indeed been killed. So the people in the ditch were killed, and those who did the killing are cursed. So Ukhdud is the singular, the people of the ditch. Several ditches is Akhadid. Now these were people who had ditches dug in the earth, fires kindled therein, and they were thrown in it because they would not disbelieve. Now there are a number of incidents referring to these people, because there was a king who had a magician, and there was a boy that was sent to him who learned magic, and the boy passed by a young hermit on the way, and he was amazed by his affair, so he followed him. When the king learned of this after some time, he commanded that youth might turn back on his faith, but he said, I will not do. And the king worked hard to destroy him, but wasn't able to do so until the youth had said, you will not be able to kill me until you do what I command you to do, which is to gather the people in one place and to put me up on a tree and to shoot me with an arrow, saying, in the name of Allah, the Lord of this youth. So he did so, and the youth died, and the people said, we believe in the Lord of the youth. At this point, ditches were dug, fires were kindled, and it was said, whoever shall not return from this religion, he shall be burned alive in there. And the people would not. This is the basic synopsis of the hadith in question. There is a very long hadith on this topic that has been mentioned in my book, Al-Mughni, as well as my other book, Al-Hadaiq, which gives very, very lengthy details in a hadith narrated from Sahih, from the Messenger of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from the Sahih of Imam Muslim, the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, and the Sunan of Imam At-Tirmidhi. They say that the king, as for the king, they say that he was one of the kings of Sakar. And this king had also become intoxicated at some point. and he had sexual relations with his sister. When he recovered, he said, "Oh, I hope mercy should come to you." And he said, what's the way out for this? She said to him, "Gather all the people together in your kingdom and inform them that Allah has made it permissible to marry one's sister." So when this meant among the people found this hard to take and found the difficulty in the matter hard to swallow. But the king did that, and they abstained to accept that. And so the king said, I will have you all flogged for this, for not accepting it. Then he had swords unsheathed, and the people still refused. So then the king had more ditches dug yet again, had fires kindled, and threw in whoever refused to accept this. And this was mentioned by Ali bin Abi Talib. This same king had people who used to fight among themselves, believers and unbelievers, and the believers became dominant, so that no unbelievers could take control of them. So that king waited until one of the men from the believers was weakened, and he took control and had fires kindled and told them, "You will follow them upon their religion, and you will follow them on your religion and abjure yours, and that is what you would like. Now follow them." But they refused, and so they were ultimately burned, as mentioned by Qatada. There were some people from the believers as well, in another instance of this king, that separated themselves from the people. And there was a wicked king from the idol worshippers who sought for them to enter into his religion, but they refused. And he dug ditches and told them, "I will put you in there if you do not abstain." And they refused, and they were put in. This is mentioned by Al-Rabi' ibn Anas. There was also an incident with this same king in which a group of people believed, who had been believing in a man named Yusuf ibn Dhu Nawas. This is after Nabiyuna Isa alayhi salam had ascended, and they refused to abjure their religion. The king had ditches dug and had them kindled, and he burned all of them. So Allah, when he says, "Qutila ashab al-ukhdud," people of the ditch were killed, that includes all the groups in those categories, including Yusuf ibn Dhu Nawas and his companions, as mentioned by Muqatil. Now there were a group of people who were worshipping an idol in the time of this king. And among them were people who hid their faith. And they knew of them. When the idol worshippers found out that these people were abstaining from idol worship and concealing their faith, they informed the authorities, who then took them to the king, who then had ditches dug and told them to abjure their faith or they would be burned. When they refused, they were thrown in. And this was mentioned by Az-Zajjaj. Now, for those who were burned, there are several categories of people who were burned at different times in the reign of this king. Some of them were the people of Habasha, as said by Ali, Karramallahu wajha. Close quote. Now, this again goes back to a point. Habasha includes Ethiopia, Eritrea, Tigrinya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Tigrinya, Oromo, part of Somalia. All this is called Habasha. All this is called Habasha. Which the oldest word in English for it was Abyssinia, before they decided to use the Greek burnt face, which is what the Greeks had called the Ethiopians. Not a very pleasant title. any more than being called paleface for English people. But Abyssinia is the closest English because there was an empire, the Abyssinian Empire. So that area was called Abyssinia in English initially. So Habasha, when you hear Habasha, it's not just Ethiopia. Habasha covers the Oroman people, the Eritrean people, the Tigrinya people, the Amhara people. It covers all these people and a section of the Somali people and Djibouti people. Because when you look at a map, Djibouti and Somalia and these other things, a lot of this is falsified or it's new. So you have to go back and look at the original. When you're looking at East Africa, you had Egypt, Masr, you had Habasha, which are those areas, and then you had Sudan, and then when you had Sudan, there was another area in the south called Kush. And off to the side of Kush was an area called Punt. That's how it was set up. When the Arabs arrived, they found the area. That's how it looked. You had Habasha. Egypt was there. You had Sudan, Egypt. Then under there was Kush. And then next to Kush was Punt. And you have listings of Kush and Punt in hieroglyphs. That's how old these areas are. This is 5,000 years back, some of these hieroglyphs. Extremely old. Kush, Punt, right? These types of areas, right? The Habash, the Oromo, the Eritreans, the Tigrinya. The Tigrinya have been around. Only Allah knows how long these people have been around. So this is what we're looking at when we say these people. The Imam goes on to say, quote, so some of these people were from Habasha. Some of the people were from the children of Israel, as said by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. So the first group of these people burned were from Habasha. The second group were from Bani Israel. The third group were from the Yemen, as said by Al-Hasan al-Basri. And Al-Dhahhak mentions further that these weren't just any Yemenis, they were Christians from Yemen. This was 40 years before the sending of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. A fourth group of people was the people of Najran. There was a group within Najran that was burned, said by Mujahid. So this fourth group of people burned are known as the people of Najran. And then the fifth and final group were Nabateans. The fifth and final group were Nabateans, as said by Ikrimah ibn Abi Jahl. Close quote. Nabateans are Nabiyuna Ismail alayhi salam. He died after 137 years. He had 12 sons. The first son is Nabit. The sons of Nabit are called Nabateans. You find Nabateans in Egypt, Jordan, Sham, and along the Hijaz area. These are Nabateans. The first son settled along these areas, right? And the other 11 sons, they spread out into what we now call Arabia, right? So when it says that he killed some Nabateans, it means some of the descendants of the first son of Nabiyuna Ismail alayhi salam, he wiped out a section of them, right? He didn't kill all of them, but this particular king, he wiped out a section of them. He wiped out a section of them. You'll find out a lot of the a lot of your Yemeni rebels, they're Nabateans. It's very difficult to beat the Nabateans in battle. Very difficult. And they're extremely large. Imam Al-Jawzi, rahimahullah, he goes on to say, quote, now the number of people burned in these different events. In one event, there were 12,000 people burned. This was said by Wahab ibn Munabbih. In one burning, there were 12,000 people burned. In another event, in the second event of burning, there were 70,000 people burned. Said by Ibn as-Sa'ib. Now, after the 70,000 being burned, the third event of burning, there were 80 men burned and 9 women. As said by Muqatil. And the fourth and fifth examples are the same as the third. Now, when the Exalted One is said, the fire which was kindled in the ditch, and they were made to sit in it, meaning to sit in the fire, to fall down into it. The king and his disciples forced them to sit, while they sat on thrones in front of the ditch, urging the believers to reject faith. And those who remained on their faith were thrown in. And they were witness to this. So Allah informed in these ayahs, in these ayat, a story of a people who did the utmost with their iman and their certainty, that they were patient even with being burned in fire, even when they were being set ablaze in the fire, they did not return from their religion. Their only crime committed by these people who burned them was that they believed in Allah, the Mighty, the Worthy of Praise. We have mentioned some of the commentary on these ayat in Surah Al-Ma'idah, the 5th Surah, 59, Surah Al-Tawbah, the 9th Surah, 74, and Surah Al-Baqarah, ayat 129 and 267. And Allah is witness over everything, meaning what they did was not absent from Allah's witness. He witnessed all of what they did. Those who terrorize and cause tribulation to the believers, men and women, meaning those that burn them and punish them and torture them, Allah has said, يَوْمُهُمَ عَلَى النَّارِ يُفْتَنُونَ. They will themselves be tested in the fire. Surah Al-Dhariyat, ayah 13. Then they don't repent from their shirk and what they did to the believers. They shall have a severe punishment in the great fire for their kufr, and they shall have a blazing torment, just as how they had tortured the believers. Those who shall be punished in the great fire. So the fire shall burn them, just as it shall be to burn that king and his companions who burned the believer, and that is the blazing fire. Now it's also mentioned by Al-Rabi' ibn Anas that after the king had finished burning this last group of people, some flames of the fire blew up and killed the king and his companions. Al-Rabi' said, and Allah took the souls of the believers before the fire had even touched them. So the believers were saved from the fire, but the unbelievers were burned. That is the great salvation, because the great salvation is to be saved and to be in the paradise, and to be saved from the punishment of the unbelievers. and the punishment in the hereafter. Indeed, the might of your Lord, meaning that he takes someone with his wrath and punishment and punishes the oppressors and the oppressors and the tyrants. That punishment is stern indeed. He is the one who begins and the one who ends affairs. He begins the creation, he shall end it, is said by the vast majority. He begins the punishment in the earthly life against the unbelievers, and it shall come to them again in the hereafter, is said by Ibn Abbas, and was discussed in Surah Hud, the 10th Surah, 11th Surah, Ayah 90. He, Allah, is the possessor of the noble and majestic throne, the Arsh. Has the news not reached you of the armies? They are those who had moved against the beloved of Allah. Then he made very clear that they are the Pharaoh and Thamud, those who rejected faith. So here Allah is comparing them to the unbelieving idol worshippers of Mecca, that they were in denial of you, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Quran. And Allah encompassed them all about. Nothing was hidden from them of their deeds. But indeed, it is a majestic Quran that is noble, because the speech of Allah is noble. And it's not as those who reject faith say it's poetry or soothsaying or magic. No. On the contrary, it is the truth. It is the pure Quran and a preserved tablet. This is the preserved tablet where the Quran is etched and the rest of the books of Revelation. It is preserved in the sight of Allah, protected from the demons. So there is no increase or decrease in it. It is in perfect protection. It is preserved from corruption and distortion. It is the preserved tablet. Close quote. أقول قولي هذا استغفر الله لي ولكم أستغفر الله إن الله غفور رحيم يرحم الراحمين ولا إله إلا الله. Now, we have completed 5 pages, inshallah. Are there any questions over what we've covered so far today? Any questions? No? If there are no questions, then we will close here, and inshallah we will reconvene next week for our next pages. Inshallah, we will be looking at Surah Al-Tariq, inshallah, Surah Al-A'la, Surah Al-Ghashiyah, and Surah Al-Fajr, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك انه غفور رحيم يرحم الراحمين ولا اله الا الله والسلام عليكم.